The first time Ethan realized his wife was stealing from him. She was crying while doing it. He stood outside the Commonwealth Bank ATM on King William Street in Adelaide, staring at his phone while rain hammered the pavement, and watched another transfer leave his account. $800. Same amount as last week, same reference line. House expenses, except Ethan had already paid the mortgage. For a few seconds, he genuinely thought somebody had hacked them. Then he saw the destination account, joint savings. The account only 2 people could access, him and Claire. His hands went numb. A tram screeched past behind him, spraying dirty rainwater across the curb. But he barely noticed. He just kept staring at the screen while memories started rearranging themselves in his head like broken glass shifting into place. Claire suddenly hiding her phone when he walked in, her daughter Ava whispering with her in the kitchen, the arguments whenever Ethan asked about money, the guilt trips, the tears. You know how stressful it is raising a teenager. You're obsessed with control. You never trust us. The worst part was that he did trust them. Completely. That was why this hurt. Ethan drove home through the storm, with the wipers slamming back and forth, so hard they sounded angry. Their place sat in a quiet street in Glenelg North, 15 minutes from the beach. He'd bought the house before meeting Claire. 2-story weatherboard. Small backyard, lemon tree out front. It used to feel peaceful. Now it felt like evidence. Claire was sitting at the kitchen island when he walked in, wine glass in hand, warm yellow light glowing around her. 42. Blonde hair tied back, calm face. Perfectly controlled. Ava sat beside her scrolling TikTok without looking up. Long day? Claire asked. Ethan placed his wet phone on the counter. What's with the transfers? Her expression changed for less than a second. Tiny, almost invisible. Then she smiled. What transfers? The ones from my wages. Our wages, she corrected softly. The room became very still. Ava finally looked up. Mum said you'd crack it eventually. Ethan stared at her. Excuse me? Claire shot Ava a warning look, but the damage was done. You've been moving money every week, Ethan said quietly. Thousands. Claire sighed like he was exhausting her. You're acting dramatic. Where's it going? Bills. That's bullshit. Her eyes hardened instantly. There it is, she whispered. The real Ethan. He almost laughed. That was her move every time. Turn his anger into proof he was dangerous, manipulative, unstable. She never yelled, never lost control. She just stayed calm while he drowned. It made him look insane. I checked the account, he said. You moved 12 grand in 3 months. Claire folded her arms. Ava needs help with uni next year. She's 17. So? Why are you secretly taking money? Because you'd say no. The honesty of it stunned him. No apology. No shame. Ava snorted. Told you. Ethan looked between them and suddenly felt like a stranger inside his own home. They were united, comfortable, like this conversation had already happened without him. How long has this been going on? Claire stood and walked to the sink slowly, deliberately, like she owned the room. You really want to do this tonight? Yes. She turned around. You know what your problem is, Ethan? You think because you earn more, everything belongs to you. I paid for this house, and I made it a home. That doesn't give you the right to steal from me. The word steal hit hard. Claire's eyes narrowed. You want to talk about stealing? She said quietly. You stole 12 years of my life. The silence after that felt poisonous. Ethan looked at Ava, expecting discomfort, maybe embarrassment. Instead, the girl smirked. You should have seen Mum before you, she said. Way happier. Something inside. Ethan shifted. Not anger. Not yet. Just clarity. That night, after Claire went upstairs and Ava locked herself in her room, Ethan sat alone in the dark lounge room, listening to rain hit the windows. Then he opened his banking app and moved every cent from his wages account into a brand new account under his name only. No warning, no message, no note, just silence. At 6:12 the next morning, He woke to Claire screaming his name from downstairs. Ethan walked downstairs barefoot and half awake. But the second he saw Claire standing in the kitchen holding her phone, he knew exactly what this was about. Her face had lost that calm, controlled mask. "Where is it?" she snapped. Ava stood behind her in an oversized hoodie, arms folded, watching like she'd been waiting for this moment all night. Ethan reached the bottom step slowly. "Morning. Don't do that." Claire shoved the phone toward him. "Where's the money?" He glanced at the screen. $23 left in the joint account. "That's all that was ours," he said. Claire looked stunned for half a heartbeat, then furious. "You emptied the account? I moved my wages." "Our wages," she hissed. "No mine." Ava laughed under her breath. Knew he'd go psycho eventually. Ethan ignored her. He was too focused on Claire's face. For the first time in years, she looked uncertain. Not emotional, not manipulative. Actually uncertain. It almost scared him more than the yelling. "You can't just do that," Claire said. "I already did. The mortgage comes out tomorrow. I've paid it for 11 years. And now what? You're punishing us?" Ethan stared at her carefully. "You stole from me. We're married. That's not permission." Claire slammed the phone onto the counter so hard Ava jumped. "You selfish bastard." The words echoed through the kitchen. Ethan felt oddly calm, maybe because this was the first honest conversation they'd had in years. No fake smiles, no fake peace, just truth. "You've been planning this," Claire said suddenly. "What? You didn't suddenly wake up and do this. You've been plotting." Ethan almost laughed. "Plotting?" "Claire, I found out yesterday. That's bullshit. Believe what you want." Her breathing sharpened. Then came the tears instantly, like a switch had flipped. "I supported you when your dad died," she whispered. "I stayed when you shut everybody out. I raised this family while you worked all the time. You raised Ava." Ethan cut in quietly. "I funded everything else." The room froze. Claire's tears vanished. Wrong move. He saw it immediately. Her face changed into something colder. Meaner. Ava stepped forward. "Don't talk about my mom like that. Then tell your mom to stop stealing from me. She deserves that money." "For what?" "For putting up with you." Ethan looked at the girl he'd helped raise since she was 6 years old. School fees, dance lessons, braces, holidays to Queensland, late-night pickups from parties, driving lessons, and somehow, in her mind, he was the villain. That hurt more than Claire. A knock suddenly hit the front door. All three of them turned. Claire frowned. "Who's that?" Ethan opened the door and found a courier standing there holding a small express envelope. "Ethan Walsh?" "Yeah." "Need a signature, mate." Ethan signed quickly and shut the door. The envelope had no sender name, just his address, written in block letters. Claire watched him tear it open. Inside was a single photograph. Nothing else. Ethan's stomach tightened instantly. The photo showed Claire sitting outside a cafe on Jetty Road 3 weeks earlier, across from a man Ethan had never seen before. Mid-40s, dark shirt, gray beard. And they weren't just talking. Claire was holding his hand. The color drained from her face the second she saw it. Ava moved closer. "What is that?" Nobody answered. Ethan flipped the photo over. One sentence was written on the back. "Ask her about Luke." Claire grabbed the photo immediately. "Who sent this?" Ethan stared at her. "You tell me. It's not what you think. Then what is it?" Claire's breathing became shallow. For the first time since he'd met her, she looked genuinely afraid. Ava looked between them. "Mom?" Claire ignored her completely. Ethan took a slow step forward. "Who's Luke?" "No one." "Bullshit. I said he's no one." "Then why are you shaking?" Claire suddenly shoved past him toward the hallway. "I'm not doing this." Ethan followed her. "Doing what? Getting caught?" She spun around violently. "You don't understand anything. Then explain it." "I can't." "Why not?" Her eyes filled again, but this time the emotion looked real. That was what unsettled him. Claire never lost control unless something truly terrified her. Ava's voice cracked behind them. "Mum." "Who the hell is Luke?" Claire closed her eyes and whispered something so quietly Ethan almost didn't hear it. "He was never supposed to find us." For several seconds, nobody moved. Rain rattled softly against the kitchen windows while Ethan tried to process what Claire had just said. "Not who used to find us." Ava looked confused. "What does that even mean?" Claire pressed both hands against the bench like she needed it to stay standing. Her makeup had smudged slightly beneath her eyes, but she didn't seem to notice. Ethan stepped closer. "Start talking." "No, Claire." "I said no." Her voice cracked hard enough to silence the room. That frightened him more than the photo. Claire was many things, but fragile was never one of them. Ava looked between them anxiously. "Mom, you're scaring me." Claire immediately softened toward her daughter. "It's okay. It clearly isn't." Ethan folded his arms. "You've got one chance to tell me the truth before I walk out that door." Claire looked up sharply. "You wouldn't." "You sure about that?" For the first time in years, she didn't answer immediately. That silence said enough. Ethan grabbed his car keys from the counter. Ava frowned. "Where are you going?" "To find out who Luke is." Claire moved instantly. "No, you don't get to stop me anymore. You have no idea what you're involving yourself in." Ethan laughed bitterly. "Funny. I've been saying the same thing about this marriage for years." He headed for the front door, but Claire caught his arm harder than expected. "Ethan," she whispered. "Please." The desperation in her voice stopped him cold. Not manipulation, not performance. Fear, real fear. He slowly turned back toward her. "Tell me the truth." Claire looked toward Ava, then away again. Finally she spoke. "I knew Luke before I met you." "That's not exactly shocking. He wasn't just someone I dated." Ethan waited. Claire swallowed hard. "He was Ava's father." The air disappeared from the room. Ava blinked rapidly. "What?" Ethan stared at Claire like he didn't recognize her anymore. "You told me he died." "I lied." Ava actually laughed once from pure disbelief. "What do you mean you lied?" Claire's eyes filled again. "I had to. You said he died in a car accident." "I know. What the hell is happening?" Claire looked shattered now, completely unraveled. Ethan had never seen it before, not once. "He was violent," she whispered. "Controlling. Obsessive. When I got pregnant, things got worse." Ava shook her head slowly. "No. I took you and left Melbourne when you were 5. You said Dad died. I needed you safe." Ethan felt sick. 12 years together, and this woman still had entire sections of her life hidden behind locked doors. "Why now?" he asked quietly. "Why is he back now?" Claire stared at the photograph still clutched in her hand. "Because he found me." The kitchen fell silent again. Then Ethan noticed something else. "You met him willingly." Claire froze. "The cafe," he said. "You were holding his hand." "It wasn't like that." "Really?" "Because it bloody looked like that." "He contacted me 2 months ago. And you didn't tell me?" "He threatened me." "With what?" Claire hesitated too long. Ethan's stomach tightened. "With what, Claire?" Her voice dropped to almost nothing. "With telling you the truth." Ethan felt the words hit like a punch, not because of Luke, because of what they meant. "There's more," he said quietly. Claire looked away. That was enough. Ava stepped forward slowly, panic rising in her voice. "Mum, what else?" Claire looked at Ethan instead. Not Ava, Ethan, and suddenly he understood why. Every nerve in his body went cold. "No," he whispered. Claire started crying silently. "No." Ava looked terrified now. "What's going on?" Ethan backed away from them both. "How long?" he asked. Claire covered her mouth. "How long have you known?" "Ethan, how long?" 12 years. The room tilted. Ava looked completely lost. Known what? Ethan couldn't breathe properly anymore. He stared at the girl he'd raised. The girl who had his habits, his sarcasm, his stupid obsession with tomato sauce on everything. Then he looked back at Claire and finally said the words out loud. "She's not mine, is she?" Ava's face drained white instantly. Claire broke down, and Ethan realized The entire foundation of his life had just collapsed in under 10 seconds. Then somebody knocked on the front door again. 3 slow knocks. Heavy, deliberate. Claire looked toward the door with absolute terror in her eyes. "He's here." Nobody moved toward the door. The knocking came again. Slow bent. Like the person outside already knew they were trapped in there together. Ethan's pulse hammered so hard he could hear it in his ears. Ava stood frozen near the kitchen counter, staring at Claire like she'd become a stranger overnight. "You lied to me my whole life," Ava whispered. Claire couldn't even answer. Another knock. Ethan looked toward the front window. A dark SUV sat parked outside the house beneath the rain-soaked jacaranda tree. Engine still running, Claire grabbed Ethan's arm hard enough to hurt. "Don't open it." "You think I'm scared of him?" "Yes." That answer came instantly. Too instantly. Ethan pulled away from her. "After everything you've hidden from me, you don't get to tell me what to do." He walked toward the front door, while Claire followed close behind, panicking now. "Ethan, please listen to me. You should done that years ago." He unlocked the door. Claire actually tried to stop him. Too late. The door opened to a tall man standing beneath the porch light, wearing a black rain jacket. Mid-40s, gray in his beard, calm eyes, exactly like the man in the photograph. "Luke." For a moment, neither man spoke. Then Luke looked Ethan up and down carefully. "You must be him." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You've got nerve showing up here." Luke gave a humorless smile. "Trust me, mate, I didn't come for you." Claire appeared behind Ethan, pale as death. Luke's expression changed the second he saw her. Not anger, not hatred, something sadder. "You should've told her," he said quietly. Claire looked like she might collapse. Ava suddenly appeared behind them. "You're my father?" Luke looked at her and completely froze. The silence stretched painfully. Then he nodded once. "Yeah." Ava stepped backward instantly like she'd been hit. "No, it's true." "No, it's not." Claire moved toward her daughter. "Ava, don't touch me." The words sliced through the room. Luke stayed near the doorway, careful, controlled. Ethan hated him immediately for that calmness. "You don't get to walk in here after 17 years, Ethan snapped. Luke looked at him evenly. "I tried." Claire shut her eyes. Ethan turned sharply toward her. "What does that mean?" "She blocked everything," Luke said before Claire could answer. "Phones, emails, addresses. Every time I got close, she disappeared." "You were violent," Claire shot back. Luke stared at her for a long moment. "You still telling that story?" Ethan looked between them both, unable to tell who was lying anymore. "Did you hit her?" he asked. Luke answered instantly. "No." Claire laughed bitterly. "Of course you'd say that." "I wasn't perfect," Luke admitted. "But I never touched you." "Bullshit." "You wanna tell Ethan why you really left Melbourne?" Claire's face changed immediately. Luke saw it, so did Ethan. Ava looked terrified now. "Mum?" Luke stepped inside slowly, rain dripping from his jacket onto the timber floor. "She stole money from me too," he said quietly. Ethan felt sick. Claire shook her head. "That's not true. You emptied our accounts and disappeared. You were controlling. I was trying to stop you gambling." The room exploded into silence. Ethan looked at Claire sharply. "What?" Claire's breathing became uneven. Luke kept his eyes on Ethan. "Poker machines, online betting, loans, credit cards. She buried herself in debt." "No," Ava whispered. "Mum?" Ethan said quietly. Claire suddenly screamed. "Shut up!" Everybody froze. Years of composure shattered in 1 second. Claire pointed at Luke with shaking hands. "You ruined my life." Luke looked exhausted more than angry. "No, Claire. You ruined everybody's life around you." Ava started crying silently. Ethan barely noticed. His brain was replaying every missing payment, every strange transfer, every fight about money. Every moment Claire made him feel guilty for asking questions. All of it suddenly made sense. "You used me," he whispered. Claire turned toward him desperately. "Ethan, no, 12 years. I loved you. You used me." That's not fair. Ethan laughed once. Broken. Hollow. Fair, he said. You let me raise another man's daughter while draining my accounts. Ava flinched like he'd slapped her. Instant regret hit him immediately. But the damage was done. Tears rolled down Ava's face as she looked at Ethan. Dad. The word almost destroyed him. Then Luke quietly said something that made the entire room stop breathing again. There's one more thing you deserve to know. Claire's face went completely white. Don't. Luke ignored her. The house, he said. It's not legally yours anymore, Ethan. Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. What did you just say? Claire started shaking her head before Luke could answer. Don't do this. Luke looked almost reluctant now. 3 months ago, she took loans against the property. That's impossible, Ethan snapped. The house is in my name. It was refinanced. Ethan turned toward Claire slowly. Every instinct inside him already knew the answer. Claire couldn't look at him. You forged my signature, he whispered. I was going to fix it. How? I had a plan. Ethan laughed. A sharp, broken sound that didn't even feel human anymore. A plan? She said she could pay everything back, Luke said quietly. But the debts got bigger. Claire spun toward him. You promised you'd help me. I did help you. For years, you owed me. Luke's expression hardened. No, Claire. I owed my daughter. Ava stood there crying silently while the adults destroyed each other around her. Ethan suddenly remembered the first time Ava called him Dad. She was 7. School pickup outside a primary school in Brighton. Tiny backpack. Missing front tooth. Dad, can we get macas? He'd smiled for the rest of the day. Now the memory felt like someone else's life. How much? Ethan asked quietly. Nobody answered. How much? Claire whispered the number. 280,000. The room spun. Ethan grabbed the kitchen counter to steady himself. That was nearly everything he had left. Super savings. The house, gone. I can explain. No, Ethan said softly. I genuinely don't think you can. Claire moved toward him carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. I know how this looks. He stared at her in disbelief. How this looks? I was trying to protect us. By destroying me. Her face crumpled. I never wanted this. But you still did it. Silence. That was the thing Ethan would remember most later. Not the screaming. Not the lies. The silence after truth finally enters a room. Ava wiped her eyes and looked at Claire. Did you ever love him? Claire opened her mouth. Nothing came out, and somehow, that answer hurt Ethan more than anything else. Luke exhaled slowly. The bank starts proceedings next month. Claire turned toward him desperately. You said there was still time. There was, before this morning. Ethan frowned. What changed? Luke looked directly at Claire. She cleaned out another account yesterday. Claire's face collapsed completely. Luke pulled a folded document from inside his jacket and handed it to Ethan. Bank statements, transfer records. Loan notices page and pages of damage. One transfer from 3 days earlier stood out immediately. $30,000. Designation account. Ava Walsh. Ava looked horrified. What is that? Claire started crying again. I was trying to protect you. You put debt in my name? Ava said. No, sweetheart, listen. You used me too? Claire reached for her daughter, but Ava stepped back instantly. For the first time all night, Claire looked completely alone. And Ethan realized something terrifying. She probably had been alone for years. Underneath the manipulation, underneath the lies, underneath the performance, there was just a woman drowning in addictions and desperation, pulling everyone else under with her. But understanding it didn't erase the damage. Ethan looked around the kitchen one last time. The family photos, the coffee mugs from holidays, the little height marks on the wall from Ava growing up. An entire life built on top of secrets. He quietly picked up his car keys. Claire's voice cracked instantly. Where are you going? I can't stay here. You're leaving? Ethan looked at her for a long moment. You already left, he said softly, years ago. Ava suddenly moved toward him. "Dad." He stopped. The word still hit him straight in the chest. Ava's eyes were red and terrified. "Are you still?" She couldn't finish the sentence. "Still my dad." Ethan looked at the girl he'd raised for 17 years. Maybe not his blood, maybe not his name, but every important memory she had included him. Teaching her to drive near Semaphore Beach, holding her hair back when she got sick at 14, watching her cry after her first heartbreak. None of that was fake. He swallowed hard. "Always," he whispered. Ava broke down completely. Ethan pulled her into his arms, while Claire stood there crying silently only meters away, unable to reach either of them anymore. Then Ethan let go gently, walked out into the cold Adelaide rain, and drove away from the only family he'd ever known. In the rearview mirror, he could still see Claire standing in the doorway alone, small, broken, watching the life she destroyed disappear down the street. And years later, Ethan would realize something brutal about betrayal. The deepest lies aren't the ones people tell you. They're the ones you tell yourself, so you can keep loving them anyway.